Welcome to another episode of the Programmatic Digest podcast. I am your host, Hélène Parker. We have a fantastic guest today on the podcast. Before we get to the guest, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to our sponsor, jobsinadtech.com. If you have not checked out the website, jobsinadtech.com is the place to go if you're in market or as an employer if you're looking to hire a professional. Jobsinadtech.com. Saray Mora is joining us on the podcast today, including another coworker of mine that is getting paid a lot more money than anybody else here, as you guys hear. But he's gonna be okay. But Saray, how are you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
And thank you very much for having me here. I'm very glad to be here. And I'm very happy to be here. Hi to you and to your coworker.
He's very good, so he might ask his own question. But today I'm super excited to have you. Saray is head of programmatic. She's a programmatic expert. She's been working on the activation and the sales side and the brand side for quite some numbers of years. I think you said 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, 10 to 12. Well,
Yeah.
12 years now, yeah.
Yeah, 12 years. Yeah. And so she's here with us today. We're going to talk about ads compliant with COPPA, what that means in the programmatic advertising world. We'll touch on what that also means when it comes to like the cookie deprecation delay, like what is going on. She has a very interesting perspective to share. And then hopefully if we have time, we talk about Latin America as a market and why it is important. But before we even get to today's super, super exciting conversation, Saray, tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, where you're from. Obviously, it's very cool where you're from. You were just talking about your birthday. And also, how you landed in programmatic. I'm very curious.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm Saray. I'm from Costa Rica, and I'm a digital marketing, paid media, and programmatic expert. And I've been in this digital media world for about 12 years now. I started in an app network, in a local app network here in Costa Rica, managing the ad server and working on that. And unfortunately, they closed their operations, so I moved to a local agency. So that was maybe I think 10 years ago. And at that moment, we were working with third-party sellers or third-party, sellers of programmatic. And in the agency I was working with, they wanted to bring the programmatic in-house. But they didn't know how to do that. And I was working with the direct sites in the direct media. And my boss at that moment, my manager, she told me like, well, I've seen you're a little bit techie and you're you like innovation. So maybe you're the right person to understand programmatic and understand this new world and bring programmatic in-house.
Yeah.
It was really exciting to me. So she sent me to Media Mat. At that moment, they had offices in Colombia.
Okay.
So I was in the Colombia offices of Media Mat. So I was learning from them and how to set up a campaign. It was something completely new to me. I've never heard of programmatic before, but it was exciting because I have used an ad server before, and it was like kind of similar. But then she also sent me to Seismic, the Seismic DSP and ad server. They had offices in Miami.
Yeah.
So I was 1 week in Colombia and then 1 week in Miami learning about programmatic. It was very intense training. Like, well, here is the DSP. You can create a campaign here. You can download a report here, and and it was
Go ahead, sorry.
and it was a super quick training. And then when I came back to Costa Rica, I had to create like complete programmatic area for the agency, and I started running campaigns. I remember that it was growing a lot at that time. So for the first month, I started working with 30 campaigns from a lot of different clients. And it was really challenging because it was my first time. I was just came back from Miami and from Colombia, and so it was super challenging. And then I was able to train a couple more of people in programmatic when I was more skilled and experienced in programmatic. And I told them, here are all of the things that you need to know. And with all of that knowledge, I created the programmatic area in that agency. That is how it started. And it was really a really great experience, a really great school. But well, this is something I would like also to mention in this podcast, and it is the state of programmatic in Latin America, since it's something that it is still starting. It is something really new. There are a lot of platforms that we don't have access here in Latin America because of some reasons. For example, Google minimum requirements of budget and things like that. And since the market is still growing, we don't have access. At that moment, in the agency, we didn't have access to DV360 or the Trade Desk or other DSPs that were used globally. So I wanted that experience. I wanted to know how it works in America, in Canada, and in other bigger markets. So I moved to Accenture also because I wanted to practice my English, and I wanted to be in a different in a different area, not only local clients. So I moved to Accenture, and at that moment I was really happy because I had access finally to DV360, the Trade Desk, Amazon DSP, and it was a different league. So I was, whoa, yay, I'm finally here. I'm finally in DV360, not because MediaMart or the other platforms how I use it was like smaller, but I wanted to use like or to be in a different like with different clients. So at that moment it was really good school in all of those platforms. And also as I mentioned, campaign manager, DV360, and the volume was really, really high. And I was managing campaigns of maybe $1 million per quarter,
Right.
and including the upper funnel and the lower funnel strategies.
Yeah.
So it was really cool because for example, one of the brands, I won't I'm not going to mention the name of the brand, but it was a really big brand in the US. And we had a really cool strategy, remarketing strategy, and we had the upper funnel and lower funnel campaigns. And for the upper funnel campaigns, sorry, we implemented a lot of direct deals with different partners such as Hulu, GumGum, Spotify. So it was really cool. That was in the upper funnel. And then in the lower funnel, we created really intricate remarketing strategies targeting people who visited the website maybe 12 years ago, 12 hours ago, 6 hours ago, 2 hours,
Yeah.
1 hour. And
So you're talking about recency schedule.
yeah, we worked at a recency schedule and in DV360, and a really intricate remarketing strategies in all the marketing funnel for programmatic. And then I moved to Amadeus working as a strategist, and in my most recent role as a head of programmatic at Kitos, I worked from the SSP side. That was a new experience for me because I haven't worked in the SSP side in the past.
Ooh,
So
how was that? How was that? What was the okay? So let me ask this question really quick because I've been predominantly on the buy side, and I've had a handful of sell side clients where, but more on the education piece, like I worked with quite a few clients like at Push Up, where I help them build internal educational materials for their clients and for their internal team. But I never got to do like sell side, ad ops, direct buy, programmatic, things like that. So as a buyer, what was the biggest change between what you did at Amadeus, let's say, or Accenture and Kiddos? Like, what's like
Yeah.
one of the things like, oh, this was helpful because I have a buyer experience in that, but at the same time, this was very different.
It was completely new work to me because I knew the platform. I was in the buyer side. I traded campaigns and
Mhm.
I trafficked a lot of campaigns from the buyer side. And I was the one receiving the deals in the past, like deals with GumGum, deals with Hulu, Spotify, and all of that. But now I was the one creating the deals.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Yeah, so instead of well, including the deals in the DSP and well traffic, I was the one creating the deals and also working directly with the buyers and the advertisers to make that deal work. And then it was also a different experience because well, for example, in Hulu or GumGum or all of those partners, they maybe don't work with kids advertising.
Yeah.
So it is not maybe difficult, but with kids advertising, there are a lot of different regulations and different things that you need to take into consideration to
Mhm.
make a campaign work. So it was different because I have been in the place of the advertiser. So I understood their needs. I understood, well, I need a campaign. I need to start this campaign on the first.
Mhm.
And first of January is tomorrow. And we need to do this tomorrow. And well, you understand their needs. You understand what they need. You understand what we
Yeah,
have at this budget and you need
yeah.
to to reach the goals, yes or yes. There is not other option.
So you
But
go ahead, sorry.
sorry, but on the other side there was a new word to me because it was this martech world that I didn't not have experience with, and it was integrations because just for context, Kidos is an app network in SSP, so they have integrations with a lot of different apps in the kids environment. So, for example, Talking Tom, Talking Angela, and all of those um, kids apps. So they have an integration to have an app network with all of those different apps. So if, for example, we are going to integrate with another app or another network to bring more opportunities, more inventory or things like that, um, well, I was the one also like knocking different doors for integrations and working with the IT team to make the integration happen and have a lot of different, like very technical meetings with the developers.
Yeah, I heard it was very technical and yeah, I'm just so intrigued. What's up, buddy? I was just so intrigued. I think it's a good segue into, one of the questions I had about what are the best practices, so we heard about YouTube getting in trouble for many reason. But most recently it was about the partner. I guess it was Google, not too much for YouTube, but the partner, the search partner transparency, the whole debacle around it. And so I wanted to ask you, when it comes to targeting kids, what is allowed, what is not allowed? I've run a few campaigns for early education clients, like early education schools, like preschools or kindergartens. But that was quite a few years ago and that was pre-COVID. So have things shifted since then? And for our listeners, what would you recommend in terms of, best practices when it comes to those brands or running programmatically for those brands? What
Yeah,
would you
sure.
recommend?
Yeah, first I would like to start with a little bit of context about what is COPPA and what the COPPA is basically a regulation from the US, and it's the Children Online Privacy Protection Act, and it is a US law, and it is designed to safeguard the privacy and personally identifying information of children under 13 who use online services. So this is really important, and it was originated in 1998, and because of a complaint about kids' privacy violations. So there are a lot of things as advertisers and also as publishers we need to take into consideration to be compliant with COPPA. So from a content perspective, it is important that we don't not include any violence, blood, or maybe something inappropriate. Even there is something really interesting that is happening in Spain and also in Mexico that I have read about. So, for example, in Spain, they recently launched like something related with the stereotypical advertising for children. So for example, that all of the girls advertising are related with dolls, Barbies, pink, and all of that, and the ones that are for boys are all about cars and color blue or light blue and a different type of advertising. So they want in Spain, they want to remove those stereotypical um
Oh,
advertising.
gender. Okay, so it's gender specific for those kids, and you can't no longer have that in the ads.
Exactly, Spain, that is specifically in Spain. They would like to remove the stereotypical representation of girls and boys in advertising.
Listen, that's gonna be interesting, especially in the US market. I don't know if this is gonna come to the US market, but like when my kid watches TV and she watches YouTube, even though I control the content, there are those ads that come up and shows other kids playing with like monster trucks. And I have a little girl, but she loves it. And every single toy that comes on TV, she wants it. And we go on to a negotiation pattern that's like, listen, sis, you can't you can have it all, but not right now, you
Yeah,
know. So I find it very interesting for this market, and I'm really curious to find out what Spain and some countries like Mexico you said are going to do. Like what how are gonna I guess it makes sense because like you're not supposed to target to them anyway, right? You're supposed to talk to their parents, correct? So
yeah, it is supposed to not the kids exactly, but it is I mean, you have to the kid has to have a device where the parent agreed for them to add advertising, and they declared that it is maybe under a children under 13. So it is possible, but only with the right app networks,
mhm.
and they already declared that they were children and all of that. And well, continuing with the content, well, for example, it is not allowed violence, blood, or anything like it is related with um well, yes, any inappropriate for children. But in terms of if we go into programmatic and with all of the things related with tracking and trafficking, there are a few things we need to take into consideration. So first thing is third-party trackers are not allowed.
Oh,
So yeah, third-party trackers is something that you cannot use because Google, for example, recognize this type of advertising as non-personalized ads.
mm,
Um, so you cannot include or you cannot track uh, the identifiers from children. You cannot track any personal information from them.
yeah.
So any third-party trackers, if you are maybe if you have like any third-party verification tools or something like that, like Mold or anything like similar, it
Yeah.
is not possible to have those into the kids advertising. And this is something that I didn't know, and I realized about that during my work at Kiddos, because at first we were struggling with a lot of campaigns, and I was working a lot of A/B testing, and it was because we didn't get to scale in a few campaigns, and I was, wow, this is curious, this is sad, because we are scaling in these campaigns in this maybe particular region, but we are not scaling in these
Wow.
other campaigns. And I work a lot of A/B testing, also creating the campaigns in a test environment myself in my DSP DV360 access to see what happened there.
Yeah.
And after a few testing, maybe working with guaranteed, not guaranteed, and a lot of different deals, I realized that the specific issue, it was the third-party trackers. So I
Wow.
created documentation for clients, and it was something really new for them as well. And we cannot, unfortunately, we cannot use. And I think a lot of education needed in this field as well,
Yeah.
because um, we need to educate the clients to understand what are the needs for a different campaign, like targeting COPPA, for example,
Yeah.
and a campaign which is not targeting COPPA. And another challenge that I have working, it was like the block leads and allow leads and all of that we
Yeah.
usually work in Programmatic, because I was working with an app network,
Yeah.
and the advertisers still wanted to include block leads and allow leads and all of that, but it was challenge, because I had to educate them like, well, maybe this is not possible, because we are already working with an app network, which is COPPA compliance, and of course we don't have those high, um maybe he wants to ask a
Yeah, he
question.
is asking a question. Yeah.
Now we're talking about kids already.
Yeah, we talk about him and this the Koopa. Oh man. Okay, so well, the tracking tag management, I had no idea. So that's something we need to be mindful of. And I knew that you cannot target the audience per se, but so what would you say? Okay, so let's before we go into the closing segments, if there's maybe three things, bless you. If there's three things, bless you, buyers, traders, listeners should remember from our conversation, and specifically about this topic of COPPA, how to best target, how to not target. What is three things you would want them to know? Like, oh, if you're thinking about running a campaign where this audience may be targeted, these are the things you want to remember and do.
Sure. Well, there are three things that I consider really important to be COPPA compliance. And the first one is, well, review really well your content and or the content of your ads to be 100% compliance, like no violence. And also there are specific regulations in different countries. So for example, in Europe we also have GDPR, and yeah, I'm sure you have heard about that. And in Spain, as I mentioned, they wanted to include that like gender neutral regulation. And also, for example, in Mexico, it is not allowed to advertise food for kids, because there are a lot of regulation with all of the sugar and different things for kids. So you need to know your audience and the countries you're targeting really well, and the content that you will advertise. And then also maybe read a little bit about COPPA, and know that maybe if you're working with a specialized app network in kids, if they have all the regulations and all the compliance Up to date, you don't need to worry about third-party trackers because those are not allowed for kids.
Yeah.
And if you are from the SSP or app network side as well, if you're, for example, in the open market and you need to approve or disapprove ads or campaigns, because this is something I work as well, just review really well all of the content that you are allowing into the open market of programmatic.
Mm.
So I think this is key in the COPPA compliance programmatic world because the fines and penalties are really high.
Uh-huh.
I read that
I
yeah.
would imagine you can't,
Uh,
you can't mess around. I think it's really cool that in Mexico you can't advertise food to kids because you're right. Like I said, when my kiddo is watching something, she'll be like, "Mommy, I want to eat this. I want to try this." And some of them are high sugar and she is stimulated enough at her age. So because of, the environment we live in here, at least in the US. And so the least amount of sugar she can get, the better it is for everyone.
yeah.
But my kid is really great. I mean, I can't complain about that. So I appreciate this conversation, Sarai, because it's I don't know if it's talked about enough. And I know that there are a lot of rules internationally that are not in like that do not m- meet US at least rules, but I think it's really important to have a different perspective as a buyer and also on the sales side, but also from a brand's perspective to understand when some conversation arise, this is why, right? And I think this is really important to have somebody like you on the team or as a partner, whether it's contracting or freelancing. It's because you know your stuff. You were able to test. You've learned the hard way and the efficient way how to do things the right way for the clients, right? And so I think it's really, really important. And also I wanted to say before we close this segment is that has it been like really quickly, like in 1 minute or less, tell us if there's been a situation before, maybe about COPPA compliant campaign or in the region or in the US region where this is a challenge that came up and I found a solution for that outside of the tracking tag. What's another case study you can share with us?
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Well, it is important to mention that well, COPPA compliant or kids advertising is like maybe exclusively for awareness strategies because since you cannot track maybe conversions and you cannot add like third-party trackings or you cannot work with remarketing strategies there.
Mhm.
Uh, we only specialize in well tracking impressions and at Kiddos we focuses at views because it was an app network for in-app ads in all of the in a few different games. Rewarded video and interstitial video were the main formats.
Okay.
So I remember at one time this was for the USA market and we were having little bit of issues with inventory
Okay.
specifically for specific region.
Okay.
So we also managed not only programmatic campaign, I led the programmatic team, but we also had direct campaigns. So all the campaigns were like competing between all of them with the programmatic and non-programmatic campaigns. So I created like a strategy to prioritize the programmatic campaigns by hours. So I work well in this at I don't know if it's an ad server or as if I can call this ad server or our own. We had our own platform to create and upload campaigns and
Yeah.
run the programmatic campaigns. So I created an strategy to prioritize the programmatic campaigns on that region to be able to reach the goals, impressions goals, and we not only reached the goals at that time, we had a very important campaign for important toys client in the USA. So we not only completed the goals, but exceeded the goals in all of the CTR, BCR. I exceeded the benchmark goals in there. So it was a really cool campaign. We were able to prioritize the programmatic campaigns and work on that. Yes.
So, so instead of going large, you went specific.
Yeah.
You really customized the experience. Okay, okay. All right. So here's my last question in the he's getting mad because he can't get the toy that's in the wall. But okay, so at the end of the every episode, I ask the same question. I like a little word of wisdom, right? What would be something you wish you knew when you first started? Viens, Karel, viens. Hold on, let me grab him really quick. Viens, viens. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? He got mad because the toys on the other side. All right, cool. And I finished with Mr. White. Thank you. So, like I was saying, what is something you want to share with the audience, right? Something you know now that you wish you knew when you first started. Like, oh, if I when I started, if I knew this, it would have been made, it would have made me a better marketer or whatever. What's your word of wisdom for us?
Well, this is a never-ending learning path because there are new platforms every day. There are new, I mean, I love programmatic. I can say that from the bottom of my heart. And there is a never-ending learning path because one day I was on the advertiser side, on the buyer side, and the other day I was on the SSP side, and there are a lot of different platforms, tools. I in the past used the DSPs, the V360, the Trade Amazon DSP, and all of those. And then at the other day, I was using Programmatic, Sander, Improve Digital, and all of those SSP platforms. So you will never stop learning in this career, in this path. And then you have, well, I already managed campaign for big clients in the US, $1 million. And in the other day, I was managing a kids campaign, which is really exciting, really new to me. I had to learn a lot. And I will say at this point of my career that I'm ready to learn more. I'm ready to take on those new challenges in this industry. And now we were talking about the Google cookie deprecation. Well, we have new things to learn. We have new things to know.
Yep.
And for some, I'm from Latin America. Programmatic is still really new.
Yeah.
So we are in the path of education, learning. There are new things that we need to adapt and learn to be able to continue growing in this programmatic work. That is really exciting.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good way to end this. And Saray is open to new opportunities, y'all. If you're listening and you know somebody that knows somebody, or if you are hiring, or even looking for consulting work, okay? You need somebody that has experience to do something efficiently. Please reach out to her. How can they reach out to you actually?
Yeah. Well, I have like a portfolio site, which is Saray Mora that site, and also through my LinkedIn as well, which is Saray Mora as well.
Okay. And all of Saray's information would be in the show notes right below this or the YouTube video description. and in the show notes of the podcast. Saray, thank you so much for joining me and my apprentice and being so graceful. Christian. We really appreciate you. I wish you good luck. I cannot wait until you come back and talk to us about your new findings, your new experience, and how dope you are. So thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you very much for having me here, Len, and thank you for this opportunity. And well, I already watched a few episodes of your podcast, and it's really great. So hopefully we can see in the future. We can meet in the future as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.